Welcome to Bridging Gaps, the business podcast sharing the challenges and stories of fellow business owners.
Hello, this is Deborah Levitt. I'm in conversation with James Sinclair this week. James is the CEO of Partyman and co-founder of Entrepreneurs Network. Please join me in welcoming James to the show. Hello and welcome, James. Thank you for joining me today.
It's my pleasure.
How are you doing today?
Yeah, good. Enjoying the sunshine here in the county of Essex, which is just next door to London, for your international listeners. So everything's good.
And it's so nice having the sunshine. We've had such a fantastic summer, haven't we?
Yep, we've had a few days of rain recently, but I think our grasses in the UK were very welcoming of this rain.
That's it. The novelty of, oh my God, what's that noise I hear? So, James, you are CEO of Partyman and also a co-founder of Entrepreneurs Network. It would be great if you could just share with my listeners a little bit about both of those companies.
Well, let's do Entrepreneurs Network first because that's the easier one.
Okay.
Entrepreneurs Network is a business coaching organisation that works on a membership basis. We've got hundreds of members in completely different sectors of the entrepreneurial business world, and we help them. We produce a magazine, we produce daily video content, we lobby government for them when we can, we lobby anything that we can to make a better life for entrepreneurs, and we give them advice from a business coaching organisation point of view. We do group coaching and one-to-one coaching as well, and that really is our platform that puts all of our content out there and has helped build the James Sinclair profile, which then in turn opens doors for our bigger business, which is Partyman. Partyman is a family entertainment and education business. It owns children's day nurseries, farm parks, little theme park, the UK's largest chain of indoor play centres, some laser arenas. We manufacture teddy bears in the Far East and sell them around the UK. That's called Teddy Tusty, that business. That business employs about 400 people, does about 12 million in sales a year. So it's a pretty large business now, and it's growing every single year. And then aside from that, we have a property company. We buy commercial property, we hold it and rent it out. We've got a little bit of residential as well. And that really spans my career, really. I started off as a magician, children's entertainer, and it just built and built and built. And here we are 16 years later, still doing what we do love.
So how did you, because you started off at, was it 14 or 15 you started your business life?
Yep. I was modelling for Calvin Klein then, and I took all the money from that to, that's a joke.
And you just poured it all into it.
Anyone that knows people that have met me would have known that that's just not true. Yes,
you've hidden those photos well.
It's been a downhill journey since 15. I was a magician, children's entertainer, and with that money I built up a few houses, and I remortgaged those houses when I could to get the business going with venues.
So how did your family respond to, at that age, you're basically going, actually, this is where I want to go, and you're proving that you're making money as opposed to it just being, making 10 cents an hour selling lemonade or something?
Yeah, so, my mum had MS. She passed away when I was about 18. She was really ill, so she only just sort of saw me start off on my entrepreneurial journey. My dad wasn't, he wanted me to do well, but, didn't, support me in the early years. He did support me, that's it, but not, it wasn't easy. I didn't really enjoy my home life, so I left home when I was about 17, 18, and just went off on my own. So really didn't concern them because I was off.
So it was more of your mum was maybe supportive. She was ill, and that support couldn't be as strong as maybe you and she would have liked. Would that be fair? Yeah. So when you went off on your own, were you already at that point, I guess, already starting to earn money, already starting to look at those properties, or were you still very much trying to figure out where money was coming from?
No, I was quite good at kids entertaining and being a magician, and didn't take me long to start earning £1,000, £1,500 a week by the time I was 18. So, I was off and enough cash to do what I wanted to do and invest into things I wanted to invest in, which started off with property. Then we built an events business, so we bought bounty castles and things like that would bolt onto the existing business, and that's how we pretty much kicked off.
And so how did you figure out how to invest and how to, where to put your money and how to take those next steps to grow?
Well, I think one of the smart things that we've always done as an organisation at Partyman is everything we've done has folded into existing empire. So, and I do think, we've all got some natural DNA. Some people are naturally organised. Some people are naturally good at singing. Some people are naturally good at running and sports. I think I had a sort of a natural DNA for business and entrepreneurship. I had the natural work ethic to work much more than most people. And then over the years, I've just, dotted the I's and crossed the T's and put that DNA to practice. It's a question asked me, or that, how did you know? How did you know? How did you know? A lot of the things, through reading some books and I just naturally got stuff, I knew that if you bought something for £1, you sell it for £2, and it just came quite naturally to me. But, I wasn't lazy. I had natural, I'd happily work 7 days a week till midnight every night to get over the line. And, that was the difference, really. It's not just about being smart. It's about if you can put smart work and hard work together, then you should get some positive results.
Yeah, because as you say, if you're smart, but you're just sitting there and waiting for it to happen, then the odds are that it's not going to happen.
And I do think, you've got to have some natural DNA for entrepreneurship if you want to win through. You could never teach me to sing. I cannot sing. I haven't got the natural DNA to be a great singer. But I think I've got some natural work ethic for entrepreneurship, and therefore I put that to work and practice. Yeah, can I improve it? Absolutely. But there was some, natural wanting to do it there in the first place.
And it is interesting. I know a friend of mine whose son is now in his 20s. He clearly showed from I would say 10, 11, those entrepreneurial tendencies where he was, he'd say to me, right, Deb, I'm trying to buy this now. So he would be washing cars or they got chickens so he could sell the eggs. And so as you say, sometimes that just starts to shine through individuals at quite an early age, which it isn't true of everybody, exactly as you said, around the DNA, what we can naturally do.
Yeah.
So what about, obviously it was tough with your mother and losing her at 18. And I read in something I was looking through as well, that you also lost your grandfather fairly soon after that. So how did...
I was just 4 months, actually. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, he was my first ever employee because I was going out doing all these shows and I couldn't drive anywhere because I didn't get a driving license till I was 18. So he was driving me at age 16, 17, 18. So yeah, it was a real tough time in my life, and made me realise that you only have so much time and you need to put as maximum effort into that time that you've got.
So when you lost your mother and your grandfather, and in such close proximity and at what is still, a very young age, how did that impact you in a business sense? Did it drive you on? Did it slow you down? Or did you just kind of keep working away as you had been before?
Well, I pretty much kept working away as I had been before. It drove me to want to do more, be more, because, I realised that, it was, you only have so much time left and you want to make the most impact in the time that you've got on the planet. And that's what I wanted to do. But some years later, it did, affect me. And I was like, damn, when things get serious, I've got no one to talk to, really. Because I think, I'm a parent now as well. Just the first 18 years, you want to be there for them when they're adults as well, because actually there's some scarier things to talk about when you're an adult than when you're a child. And I'll make sure I do a good job of that. But hey, they had no choice. They weren't there. They were sadly gone. So
yeah, and I think, as you say, it's only when you want to speak to them or to share something with them that you start to realize the impact of them not being there. to yourself, and it's completely out of our control, obviously.
Yeah.
So you started off, you were a magician.
Yep.
And you were then starting to build up the business. You were starting to, put in some more, I guess, physical, real assets like the bouncy castles, that sort of thing. How did you progress to actually bringing on staff? And were they of a similar age to you, or were they younger? How were you evolving into that, becoming not just the one-man band, but an organization?
Well, I was desperate to do that as soon as I possibly could, and I sacrificed my own earnings to pay others. I do that now, actually. I don't believe you've got a business unless you have a team around you. I think most people are in the game of building a profitable job, and I was desperate to build a profitable company that could work without me doing the day-to-day stuff. First person I employed was a cleaner, so I didn't have to do any cleaning home, so that it freed me up to do more sales calls. Second person was an administrator. That took all the admin stuff off of me so that I could do all the higher level stuff. So I was always looking for, right, how can I sack myself from that role? How can I sack myself from that role so that I'm out there doing more higher value stuff?
And I think it's a really valid point that you've made there about most people are building themselves a job and not an organization. Do you find that, with Entrepreneurs Network, do you find people who are coming onto that who are in exactly that situation, that they think they're trying to build a business, but they're creating a job?
Yeah, I think it's a DNA thing again. It's a decision thing. It's for someone's mindset. Some people have a mindset that they want to be time rich and get back their time, and that they want to employ people. Other people will put all the barriers in their way to stop them from employing someone.
Yes, and I know that I speak to people who are sometimes, well, they're worried quite often about a couple of things. So one is employing somebody, and some people come, I'm speaking to them and they're like, okay, I've got my website. Now I need a team. Now I need this. Now I need this. And it's like, well, hang on a second. You might want to start actually, building some business first before you start doing all of those things. They're not bad things to do, but not necessarily the very first thing. But then there are the others who don't want to do it and who are getting stressed, who are getting all of that pressure, doing the admin, cleaning the house, taking everything on themselves. And also there's an avoidance that I've seen of wanting to go over that VAT threshold. So almost like another fear holding you back. And is that something that you experience as well with the entrepreneurs that you're working with?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's both. I mean, the VAT thing. So the first question. Let's take the first thing you said there. Everyone wants to do everything but sales. So there's some people that are so operational. I'll start selling when the operations are perfect. When I always say, get some sales in, then put the operations in. It should always be sales before operations, because if you've got no sales, everything's going to come to an end eventually anyway. So you've got to make sure you're focusing far more time on selling products and services, so that it affords you to do really good operations. Everyone wants to employ people for sales and not operations. And the truth of it is, it's far easier to get an operations person than a salesperson. So make sure you're out there doing the selling, because a really good salesperson is much more expensive than a really good operations person. And then your other point about the VAT threshold, absolutely, people do all they can to avoid the VAT threshold. But what you need to do really is not think, I'm only going to turn 85,000 up by 100,000. It's like thinking, right, how can we get into the million straight away of revenue, so that the VAT thing isn't a problem? Because it's only a problem if you just about go over it. You need to be able to 10x your thinking there and go, right, okay, if we turn 800,000 this year, we're going to have to start paying VAT. Well, no, let's think, right, we're going to be turning £1 million this year. Yep, and then you're not even worried about VAT coming into the game. So it's the small-minded thinking from getting to where they really need to get to.
And when you were starting, again, back as a young man, how did you manage or do the sales? How did you, did people just find you from word of mouth, or were you actively out there promoting yourself?
Well, I was in a very lucky business where I was doing kids' parties. So I would go to a group of people, 70 people, do a show, and then 70 potential customers got to see me. And I would be doing that 3, sometimes 4 times a day. So and I just used to have this thing called Magic Money, which was instead of a business card, I had Magic Money. So I looked up 10 money with all my details on. I'd give that out, and that drove business towards me.
And did you know that it would, or was it just an instinct to have magic money rather than business cards?
I knew that. Yeah, I knew that it would just be a fun way, and it would be more of a sticky thing. I told the kids that if they put it in their fridge, they would get extra Christmas presents at Christmas. So I had all these, and so they stuck around and they worked, and I just had different methods that I was good at. Naturally got marketing, and I still do more time on sales and marketing now than anything else I do in the whole business.
And do you do that both for Party Man and for Entrepreneurs Network?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm like, right, we've got to make more videos. We've got to write articles. We've got to, get I think there's 2 things that you've got to be into business is innovation and marketing. You've got to constantly innovate your product because everyone else is constantly innovating theirs and they can out-innovate you, similar to how Apple done that with Sony in the end of the late 90s, beginning of the 2000s. And I believe that I'm on product innovation and marketing that innovation of product. And I want to be doing that more than anything, all the time, every time, because I believe it's innovation and marketing that makes a business successful.
That's what keeps you different as well, isn't it? Because, as soon as you do something, people start following and doing it and, potentially doing it not necessarily better, but cheaper. And often for some people, money is the final deciding factor. So the more you can be different and innovative, as you say, the more you're going to keep ahead of the competition.
Absolutely.
You've mentioned that you've had, that this wasn't a case of you just, touch everything and it turns to gold, that you've had to work hard, that you've had ups and downs trying to, to grow the business. And I'm assuming that this initially was really referring to Party Man, and then maybe more recently with Entrepreneurs Network. But are there any particular challenges that you can recall that you think, yeah, actually that was a really tough time, and I don't necessarily know how I saw through it, or looking back, you can see how you saw your way through it, and that you think other people might benefit from hearing about?
Yeah, I would say cash flowing, a growing business that's capital intensive. So for me, my business isn't capital intensive. I want to always invest £1 million here, £2 million there, and constantly raising the capital to do that is always a tough thing. My payroll is £400,000 a month. I hate having to find £400,000 every single month. Because I'm putting capital to work, growing a new day nursery here, opening a new site there, funding this, funding that property purchase over there. I'm a proper entrepreneur. I've always got my money working as hard as it possibly can for me. So maybe one way of making my life easier is if I didn't make my money work as hard for me, but you are who you are, and it is my natural instinct to create things and build things and constantly do things. That's the only thing that really stresses me out and worries me, really. Doesn't worry me. That's the only thing that plays on my mind, actually. Everything else, I seem to be able to cope with more stress than everyone else. And I wouldn't wish for anyone really to walk in my shoes unless they were really prepared for the hard work that entails running an organisation when you're the only person. There's not a board of directors here or multiple shareholders. If things go wrong, it's on me.
So it's all resting on your shoulders, and that £400,000 a month is a lot of people's livelihoods.
Damn straight.
Yeah. So that's I can see that being a big pressure, and it's presumably it's also your livelihood and your family, as you said. You've now got your father,
Yep.
So there's a different pressure. Do you find that having become a parent that your attitude towards risk has shifted in any way?
No, I thought it would, but no. The only thing that's changed is I want to spend more time with my family, where I was prepared to sacrifice my other spare time outside of work to do more work stuff. I would like now to spend more time with my family, and not have to think about work as much. But I can't help it, my body might not be here, but my mind's still at work, and that is, again, it's who I am. I try my best, but my mind is a workaholic. Just as much as I can relax my body, the mind still goes.
And is there anything that you do or try to do to I guess, to calm your mind and to have those moments of, I guess, peace? Or do you just accept that, no, actually, it's pretty much always on, and that's the way I am?
What helps me is actually movies. But I love watching a movie. It does stop me from thinking about work. A really good movie. However, though, or books. But if I choose to read a book, I'd always choose to read a business and entrepreneurial book, and then I'll go, oh yeah, we could do that. Boom. And then on to how I can implement what I've learned there into business.
When you're watching a movie or things like that, are you able to switch off? And, is it fully occupying your mind, or is there still a little corner that's wondering about, whatever is next for your business?
Yeah, well, I can't turn it off, and I am always thinking about what's next. So, yes, that is what I'm always doing.
And when you're looking, so I looked at some of your videos and things as well, and you are, from what I've seen, you're still very much a showman. You're putting on a show as well as giving people valuable information, whether that's about how you're feeling, as in the video that I saw from the other day around the stress, I guess, or disenchantment with the land. Sorry, I forgot what they're called. The
landlords.
Thank you. Yeah, with them making all of the money and potentially putting people out of business because of the demands that are on you, and the council as well. But do you find that energy is just something which, so once you've done those things and you're putting on that show, is there a down for you? Has that taken a lot of your energy away, or is that feeding your fire to just, explode onto the next thing?
Yeah, things get me down, but I don't let them get me down for. Some people, they're just down all the time. I can deal with things that most people just could not deal with, and it'll only get me down for a day, and usually the next day I'm back to normal. Or worst case, it'll keep me down for a couple of days at the very most. The big thing about running a big, growing entrepreneurial beast is if you cannot manage stress, you can't manage the success, because bloody hell, being successful means that you have to put more money to work and do more with things, because capital erodes, it decreases in value. So you need to make sure that your money's out and putting to work, and that you're out there doing more and more to keep in the game. So, yeah, bad days just help you appreciate the wins.
And I guess that's a really good point as well, because as you said, if you're having a bad day and it's just you that's impacted. But when you're having a bad day and you've got, 400 people relying on that money coming in and the business continuing to run, you can't let the bad day knock you completely off into bed or whatever would potentially happen, can you?
No, you can't. You've got to keep going.
Yeah, that's it. And I guess I hadn't really thought about that as well, as it's a different pressure in terms of the stress of trying to be successful yourself.
The way you manage stress in situations like that is to actually know what the end looks like and what you're trying to build. I do talk about this a lot. If you go through university and there's a reason you're at university, it's to become a vet, a lawyer, a doctor, barrister, I don't know, or a you're an architect, you know why you're there, and there's a reason why you're there, so you can get through those stressful times, get through those stressful exams, do that stressful coursework, meet those stressful deadlines, because you know there is a prize at the end. And I think that's the same for business. If you know what the end looks like, you know the product or the thing that you're trying to build and what it looks like into the future. That could be 10, 20 years into the future. If you know what you're trying to build and you have a clear plan, clear vision of what it is you're trying to build, you'll be able to navigate those stormy waters much easier.
That's really valuable, because so often we look at the fairly near term. And Amanda Watts actually was saying that you needed to have a couple of whys, and one was the bigger why, and one was the more personal one. And I think that, what you're saying there kind of ties in, is where am I going to take this to in the long term so that I can see through this challenging period.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we always talk about this as a war plan, battle plan thing. Most people battle plan rather than war plan. You need a war plan so you know what battles to fight, and that period answers the reasons why people are stressed out. If you have got a war plan, fighting daily battles becomes so much easier because you know why you're doing it and what the ultimate war plan is. And most people just fight battle after battle and they don't know why they're fighting those battles.
Yeah, and then that gets you down, because you do feel like it's just one battle after another. And if you can't see that you're making progress or getting towards whatever your aim was, then it is much harder to keep fighting on.
Absolutely.
So, James, you went through from, building up Party Man, and it's now very successful, but you've got a lot of plans for it still. You're still, planning on expanding it and growing it, but alongside it, you've got not only the property business, but the Entrepreneurs Network. What made you decide to branch off into the business coaching, into that aspect, as opposed to just focusing your time on Party Man?
I've got a real strong belief that if you've got a profile like Richard Branson, Steve Jobs, Stelios, Bill Gates, that more doors will open for you and that you will pull opportunities towards you rather than push for opportunities. And I wanted a platform that would help build my profile, and that was very, very important to me. I always made sure I did that in my early business. So my children's entertainment alias was Jimbo the Party Man. I'd go out and do all these shows and get known for it, and that sort of magnetized opportunities towards me. Now I want to do that as a CEO for the business. I get to meet people from really good banks, from private equity houses on the back of my profile that massively helps my business. That's reason number one. Reason number two is, for some strange reason, I absolutely love public speaking and being on stage and helping business owners, and that's the other reason. And partly reason number three was, when I retire, and if I'm no longer running this business when I'm older and my kids run it, or it's run by others, I've got something else to go into that I'll absolutely love doing, and that is being a public speaker and coaching people one-to-one. I don't really coach people now. I've got a few, very small handful of clients, because most of my time is in Party Man. But I am building my profile up, which I think is, a very powerful thing for this business. If I get to meet MPs and influential people, and that helps my business because I know who the right people are, then thank you very much, Entrepreneurs Network. And that plan is, definitely well into practice now, and already, we're seeing the fruits of our labour.
Because it's been, am I correct in thinking you started it in 2016?
Yep, that's right.
Yeah, so it's a couple of years into being, and you've started it, and it's about building your profile as much as about helping the entrepreneurs that become members. Is that correct?
Yeah, it helps our members. We teach them all the best stuff we know. It helps build my profile, and it opens doors for our members. But the question you asked was, how does it, why do I do it? And really, those were the, build my profile to open doors for Party Man. And I love public speaking and helping people. And those are the two reasons that I did it.
Well, and your energy and belief, again, from what I've looked at, really does come through, and it feels, everything about the way you're presenting yourself just feels incredibly genuine, and that it is you, and that there's a performance, but the performance isn't a falsehood. It's the truth of who you are, but just in a slightly bigger way.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, I know what engages an audience. I'm a magician by trade, and I know I want our videos to break enough state that people listening and learning from it, because the great educators of our school times are people that use body language, tonality to keep you listening, and that's the same practice and process that we go through on our stuff.
And so running through this, the Entrepreneurs Network adds a lot of pressure onto you in terms of supporting the members, of putting out the blogs, of running the events for them, and also of going out and, as you've said, kind of lobbying on the behalf of business owners and entrepreneurs who need changes. How does that balance for you with Party Man and continuing to grow that?
How do you mean?
I guess drawn in maybe slightly. Sorry?
Where do I put my time, in Entrepreneurs Network or Party Man?
Well, or how do you feel that you're... So there's one element of Entrepreneurs Network, which is that by building your profile, it's helping Party Man. But then on the other side, it's also putting demands on your time, and Party Man is putting demands on your time. And how do you maintain a balance between those and your family life? And, I guess juggling everything without any one thing overtaking everything else.
Yeah, so Party Man takes, I would say, the lion's share of my time. And then EN takes the next level. I mean, in some weeks it'd be EN taking more time. Other weeks Party Man will take more time. But, on the balance, Party Man takes the most time. And then I try not to work too many weekends. And then I'm with my family in the evenings and weekends.
And did you find that you had to make any sort of changes in terms of how you approach business or how things worked when you went from the Party Man, which is obviously, a B2C going out to people, to the Entrepreneurs Network, which is a B2B? Were there any learnings or things that you came across in that process, or was it just a very natural shift?
No, I mean, it's still looking after members. We put on events, which is not so dissimilar to Party Man and its operations. It is a different business, but the mechanics are the same. We look after members, we look after regular customers, and we are, trying to educate people, and we try and do that in an entertaining way so they get the content and can put it to practice.
As you say, just a slightly different angle that it's coming in.
It does sound wildly different, and it is wildly different, but the way we look after customers and is no different in each organization.
So the customer focus remains the same. It's just that they're different types of customer.
Yes, that's exactly it.
Right. Okay. No, that makes sense. I understand. I get that. How would you, if somebody came to you and they said, right, James, I'm thinking of starting my own business and I just really need some advice, what would the kind of top things that you might say to them to consider, or, what should they think about before they take that leap, assuming that they're taking a leap?
Okay, yeah, I've got a few things here. I would say make sure you've got margin in your product. Make sure that you're building a product or a service where people can buy from you regularly. Make sure there's a chance for residual income, so you're not starting from zero each month. Make sure that you have an end in mind for your business. What does the business look like in 5 years' time? Make sure you've got that very well documented. Make sure that you don't need super expensive team members. Make sure that someone wants to buy your business when you're finished as well. So is there someone wanted to buy in your sector. I learned this with my bouncy castle business. There wasn't a private equity business or a venture capitalist business that wanted to buy my bouncy castle business, or indeed my magician's business. That's why I added childcare into our mix, because I knew that private equity and venture capitalists, people wanted to buy that business. It's very, very important that you choose a business that people want to buy when you exit easily, not impossibly, but easily, because that will mean that you're building something that usually fits all them other things that I just said.
So how do you know or figure out whether somebody's going to want to buy it, as you said, easily? So, you think, well, bouncy castles are brilliant. Everybody wants them for parties. It's a great business to be in. Why wouldn't somebody want to buy it? How do you figure out that they don't?
So even if the number's the same, if you build a bouncy castle business that turns £1 million, that makes £150,000 a year profit, if you build a childcare business, a day nursery that turns £1 million and makes £150,000 profit. So on the face of it, the numbers are exactly the same. But I would always choose to buy the day nursery business over the bouncy castle business, because 9 times out of 10, the bouncy castle business is run by a key man individual. It's seasonal, so it'd make all the money in the summer and none in the winter. You would have to completely and utterly rebuy new equipment all the time as it gets worn out. And you'd have to find new customers every month, because once someone's has a bouncy castle from you, they wouldn't want to come back the week after the week after. They might do it once every 2 or 3 years. So there's some problems with that business. However, on the face of it, it's got good revenues and good profitability. Let's move over to our day nursery business. £1 million turnover, 150,000 net profit. This business is run under complete management. Once the customer signs up, they stay with you for 4 years. Then at the end of the period, there's tons and tons of people that would want to go and buy that business, and they'll be using OPM, other people's money. So they'll be using pension fund money, they'll be using venture capitalist money. And there is, a catalogue of stories on the internet of people that have sold those businesses for really good multiples, and there is none on the internet where you'll find someone that sold a bouncy castle business for really good multiples. So it's all down to research and knowing what you want to build before you start. And that's what venture capitalists and private equity businesses do so well. They have a set of criteria for the type of business they want to buy, because they know that they can do that really well. It all comes down to the word easily. I'm not saying it's impossible, but you want to choose things that are easier than other things. So selling a profitable day nursery business would be very, very easy to do. Selling a profitable events key man driven business would not be impossible, just not as easy as the day nursery business that I described, because people want to buy things that they can fold into their existing empire, rebrand, leverage off of their existing management team, and keep growing it. It's basically the rule of thumb. If you can get it run under management easily, this is the word that keeps coming up, easily. So we're trying not to just do the impossible. It's always possible, but we don't want to make it hard work. And it comes down to this thing that I talk about. Do you choose in the difficult option or the easy difficult option? And try and go down the easy difficult rather than the difficult.
And let's face it, going down something with the word easy in it always sounds better than going down the route of something that's just got difficult in it.
Yeah, I mean, the phrase that I use is easy difficult, because it's still, setting up a profitable day nursery isn't a walk in the park.
Yes.
It's, in my view, in the easy difficult camp rather than the difficult camp. So it's still difficult, but I'm saying it's easy difficult, not difficult.
So we've talked already a little bit about how you manage your health and well-being and trying to stay with the family at weekends, and that's become more important to you as you've now got the family around you. Are there any other things that you do? So you've mentioned that you're at Marsh Farm, and that's got ponies that one of whom's almost a horse. But do you find that being around the animals or being on the farm or being in any particular environments also help you to just generally feel better, and eating calypsos?
So yeah, during I have a personal trainer that comes and sees me at home before I go to work, 3 1-hour sessions a week. And then I have meal prep delivered to me at work as well. So it's only now when I'm out and about that I, eat the naughty stuff when I go out for dinner and stuff, meetings. But I'm trying, as I've got older, to definitely invest time into exercise and eating better.
Well, and it is a lot easier with a personal trainer and things. I know that made a huge difference for me in terms of, well, just the enjoyment I think I got out of it, as well as the results.
Yeah, I don't enjoy it. I just know that I need to do it.
Whereas I had a personal trainer who I basically just whinged to throughout the session, which, and we just had a bit of a laugh, which was nice. It made it pass far more quickly.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah. So, James, is there anything else that you'd like to touch on or to share just before we wrap up?
Yeah, well, I think if you really enjoyed some of the content that I've spoke about here and you've learned some stuff, I mean, check out, we've got our own little podcast as well. I don't know if I can say about that. It's called the James Sinclair Q&A show, where people have put questions on our videos on the internet. So we produce, I have someone called Chudlington, or Chudders, follow me around my businesses and puts out a daily sort of documentary of me running my companies. And we put a video out every day, basically. And there's some full keynotes, and they're all on YouTube. You can just search James Sinclair Entrepreneur on YouTube. I'll come up. You can follow me on LinkedIn, James Sinclair, or on Facebook, James Sinclair's Entrepreneurs Network. And then the podcast is out. It's called the James Sinclair Q&A show. All those things, if you really want to increase your entrepreneurial learning, they're all free. And we're putting that stuff out every single day. And hopefully that can help some people in their business life.
That is really fantastic, James. And I will put up links to everything as well when the podcast goes out, and also on the guest gallery, so people will be able to find it easily. And I will be checking out both the podcast and some more of the videos myself.
Thank you very much. Lovely talking to you.
Lovely talking to you as well. Thank you very much, James.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Cheers. I've been in conversation with James Sinclair, CEO of Partyman and co-founder of Entrepreneurs Network. You'll find all of James' contact information in the show notes. Are you considering your own podcast? Why not check out So You Think You Want Your Own Podcast? It's an online course that introduces you to everything that's involved in hosting a podcast, as well as working with you to define your own podcast concept. You can get more information on it at startyourownpodcast.bridginggaps.uk. Bridging Gaps, the business podcast, was produced by Deborah Levitt of Bridge Road Consultants Limited, with original music provided by Pete Dineley.
You've been listening to Deborah Levitt on Bridging Gaps, the business podcast.